Well, hi, it's Grandpa Ricky, and I'm here with my friend David, and I'm hoping I can talk him into asking a question or something. And I've got my Grandpa Ricky scarf on, so I will remember that I'm Grandpa Ricky today. And I started to tell David about a friend of mine whose name was Zora. And he had snow white hair when I met him, and he'd retired, and he had a cottage, like a little place where he lived, and it had a crawl space, and he wanted to make it into a basement. And I just come out of my second marriage, and I'd screwed the thing up because I was afraid of love. I was afraid of commitment, and I was afraid of my wife's brains, and I was afraid of her adventurousness. And I was also afraid that she saw things in me I didn't see. I wasn't ready to own yet. And, and she was a great therapist on top of that. So I screwed up the relationship by having an affair. And my son was angry at me because he really liked Joanne. He loved Joanne. And he also liked the woman I had the affair with. And I left Joanne and moved in with this other woman. And we had a wonderful time, and it just wasn't right. So after a couple of weeks of that, I tried to get back with Joanne, but it was just too hard. And we tried for a long time. And at the end of that, Joanne said, well, this is it. I've met somebody, and I'm going to see about having a relationship. And it was devastating. And so I'm down there in Zora's little cubbyhole, little basement to be. And we're both in our underwear because it was hot, and we're digging all this dirt and hauling it and doing all this heavy work. And so I said to Zora, I said, so what's this stuff about relationships? I just don't understand them. I think I'm incapable of having a relationship. And at the time it was true, and I think the next marriage it was true too. I didn't know how to do it. So he kept working Zora. He was a very cool guy, a very smart guy, and very simple, down to earth guy. And he says to me, he said, well, Ricky, he says, he was the first person to call me Ricky. So he says, Ricky, relationships, marriage, they're like fields. They're like a field. Yep, well, they're like a field. And then he went back to grunting and groaning. And I said, how is a relationship or marriage like a field? And he said, well, sometimes fields have blossoms and they have beautiful crops, and it's just nice to be there. And you just love the thing, It's like, wow. And he said, and sometimes, it's terrible. There's weeds and bugs and nothing's growing, and it's too much work, and ugh. And then he stops and he goes back to grunting. And then I said to him, I said, well, what was the longest time that it was like nothing was growing and it was yucky? And he says, well, it was 4. Yeah, 4. And he kept going until he was up to like 13 or 14. And then he says, yeah, 14. And I said, 14 months? He said, no, Ricky, no, years, 14 years. And it was just like, it just rocked my socks that he understood, and it took me a long time to understand it, that the really, really hard stuff scares us, and the field is full of bugs. But the whole idea is you just keep turning up and doing the best you can. And that's the thing that my mom taught me, and that was we got to do the best we can. Because she almost died twice, or she did die twice. And she came back, and her whole philosophy was, yeah, look at, you try your best, It'll work or it won't work. So what? You're still okay. You're still you. I still love you. And so that's today's story from Grandpa Ricky, dedicated to my friend David. And thank you very much. for watching. It gives me a lot of pleasure to think that this might be useful to you. Maybe it's not, but I don't want it to hurt. I don't want the stories to hurt you. I'm trying to give you good energy. And please remember that my friend Angeles Arians, I think, was really right when she said, everybody in the world has gifts, and the whole world needs everybody's gifts. So please get over your fear of being stupid or silly or making a mistake, and make some videos and put them up on YouTube for other people to see, and maybe they can use them. And if you somehow get a message to me, and I look at your video and it's not hurtful or, against something, then I'll advertise your YouTube thing. Okay, so thank you very much. This Grandpa Ricky stuff's kind of fun for me anyway. I hope it is for you too. Bye.